You look beautiful.
Thank you. Serving you, Brother Teresa.
Brother Teresa.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Urn of episode 9. I really like this episode.
Yeah.
2 fun tribals to talk about because we did the twist where they will be in 2 separate partitions of 5 each, with one person going home from each partition.
And, fun fact, filmed February 2021 before anyone had seen 41 and 42. So, Survivor 41 and 42 now have used this twist twice since we did it. So, it's one of those things where, we'll film a season and then we'll watch seasons of American Survivor or Survivor U, and we'll be like, oh, please don't do the thing that we did.
Yeah.
Or like, what if everyone's like, oh, we hate this twist.
Yeah.
And then we've done it. Ooh.
Yeah, US does it twice, and then we're like, we also did it. We haven't seen ours yet.
Anyway, shall we jump into the votes?
Yes. Much of an aftermath of the final 11 vote. I think the biggest thing is that Abby is going to be pretty hurt by Josh.
It would be interesting to know what would have happened if we hadn't done this twist at this point.
Yeah, like who would have gone home, who may have flipped. Because there's a lot of talk about it. We saw before that like Abby was talking to that group saying, hey, you guys vote for Matt B. I'm not going to do it, but you do it. But then that opportunity's gone. And so, I wondered, does Abby sort of regret, like, oh, maybe I should have just jumped across at that point. I don't know if it saves them in this position or not. But also for Matt B as well. He sort of talked about jumping across. He didn't want to do it last time. At Final 11, he says to Rachel, no, stick to the yellow-red plan this time and I'll flip next time. And so he misses his opportunity as well.
Yeah. Okay, which one do we want to talk about first? Abby's?
Yeah, they're the ones who vote first.
Yeah. I mean, incredible chance that this would happen, right? With 4 yellows and 1 red, and then the red will win immunity here, meaning that the yellows have nowhere to turn except on each other.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we see is Kiara, Abby, and Val all decide on Joe. Kiara doesn't say much in this conversation, probably because I assume she'd never go along with it. But, Val is kind of saying like, oh, we're right back to the start where, this is difficult because no one deserves to go. And she's getting, round 1 vibes. Round 1 for her.
Yeah.
We very quickly find out that Abby doesn't even like this plan and that she doesn't intend to do it. It's just that Val was standing right there. So she goes to Joe and Kiara and says, no, that's not the plan. We're going to vote for Val. It's us 3, bearing in mind those 3 made a final 3 deal in the last episode, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Val. That's the plan. What I love particularly about this vote is the storytelling, but also the way in which it is kind of like that first round again. I mean, take Sal and Matt out of it, but here you have Valentina, where like the easy vote is Valentina here, to take her out, but because of what has happened in the game, Valentina has played a much more loyal game. She's been able to reestablish that connection with Kiara and say, I wore my yellow buff the whole time.
Yeah.
I wanted to come back to you guys. And Kiara almost gets to, I guess, revise her decision here.
Yeah.
Whereas Abby, and we hear it from Kiara as well, Abby has made people in her own alliance nervous. She's made people outside the alliance nervous. And that's not really playing into what Kiara wants to do here.
Yeah.
So I love the juxtaposition of that first round where Valentina will go and this round where Abby will go. And seeing how, I guess, what has happened in the game will revise and impact on that decision the second time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Valentina was given a second chance in the game. So, she's getting her redemption here at the merge. And she finds herself in this position where it's like, okay, we've done this before, but this time it's going to be a different outcome. And that's because she has done the work leading up to that point. She has made it clear of even though you voted me out, I'm with you. I pledge my loyalty to you. And has been able to sort of cast doubt on somebody else. But Abby, well, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. And Kiara will lead the way on this vote with Michael. But Valentina gets credit here as well, right? Where people want to take her off of the table for what you're saying because of the work that she has done, the social game that she has played, whereas Abby has potentially prioritized the strategy in the last 2 rounds, and maybe, I don't know if this is mean. Sorry if you're watching, Abby, but like maybe lost sight of the social game a little bit, the social dynamics, because she wants the strategy and she's starting to play with people.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you here and you here and you here. And you saw in the last one how that kind of got people offside.
Yeah, it's great to have options at the merge, but you can also have too many options where one alliance can see that and go, well, I'm not sure if they're with me because they're spending a lot of time with those people and less time with me. It's a tricky balance because you also have sales comments of like, oh, the yellows just want to huddle together and it's too obvious. It's like, you don't want to do that, but you also don't want to spend all your time with the other people because then your core alliance will question where your allegiance is.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, you know, people who go out in these sort of twists, yes, their impact that they've had on the game and the decisions that they've made leading up into that point, like we're saying, definitely impact on the decision. But at the same time, you know, Abby couldn't predict that they were going to end up in a situation with just the 4 of them in the next one. So, you know, just to lay off Abby a little bit, you know, it's like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Best made plans.
Yeah.
She could never have planned for that.
Yeah. Abby and Matt both end up in pretty tricky situations here to try and navigate. Random comment, but pre-season when we did our cast assessment, a prediction that I had, which I didn't say on the video, is because it would be revealing this twist. I didn't want to say this is who I think goes home in the final 10 twist. Can't say that at the start of the season. But my prediction was that it would be Valentina.
Right.
Like, for some reason, I had this like...
Oh, you did actually... Sometimes Kyle tells me that he thought things after the season, and I'm like, no, you didn't. You never said that. You did actually say this.
Yeah, which is like such a specific prediction, but I was like, I think Valentina goes in this spot. So for me, in the moment, seeing it, and I'm like, oh, Valentina, I'm so sorry. You fought your way back in here, and now you're in such a tricky partition. So yeah, her surviving that, I was just like, oh, wow, okay, this is exciting to... You know, not knowing what's going on to lead to that at the time.
Joe, Kiara, Valentina, and Michael will all vote out Abby here in a 4-1.
Yeah.
To be fair, Abby did kind of sense that it was going to be between her and Val. I mean, no, she definitely knew.
Yeah.
So she wasn't necessarily blindsided, but she was relying on that final 3 deal.
Yeah.
And the people that she had made friends with to carry her through. But unfortunately, damage had been done. Before we get to your vote, we have to talk about Abby. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm on the other track.
Sorry. Before we get to the other vote, we have to talk about Abby realizing about the idol.
Yeah.
Like, that is the story that happens in the middle of these 2 votes. Like, this is the sort of thing where it's like, you can't write it better.
Yeah. And we're so grateful that Abby is such a great sport about this as well, because, you know, we really... you know, hone in on that moment of realization of like, it was in my hands. I threw it on the ground. Like, I could have saved myself. Like, all of that is happening. I feel like it's kind of similar to what we did with Liz in season 3.
Yeah,
we really just like focus on her and like capture that, like all the emotions that are happening at the time. Yeah, so it's a sad wrap up for Abby's narrative with the idol here, but it just plays out like in such, you know, poetic narrative.
Yeah, not only did she drop it on the ground, but she shared with Sal like all the information that she had about it.
Yeah.
And then Sal was able to find this idol in the way that Abby did not.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, it's a timing thing, but Abby never found the piece of paper in the block that said, you know, congratulations, you found an idol. Yeah. She found the block, but that's not what she was looking for. She was looking for a little package wrapped in string, which, you know, then that's not there, and it leads her on this whole thing about Matt, who will go out right after her, after she has just declared, you know, like, Matt, on her way out, Matt, you have an idol in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know, and then instantly we'll realize how it's all going to play out on camera. And, you know, this was one of the storylines that we knew was happening on the day as well. We were following Abby and this idol. And I mean, you were there.
I filmed Abby getting the... I filmed Abby taking the clue out of the flag, and also Abby throwing the idol on the floor. So I was very much following it.
And, you know, as producers of the show, we're having conversations behind the scenes of being like, you know, is this good?
Right.
You know, like what are we going to do? People are finding this too hard, whatever. And then I go and film the conversation between Kiara, Joe, and Abby at the merge. Probably one of the only things I actually filmed. And, you know, I watch Abby tell Kiara and Joe what she has done, and therefore Matt must have the idol. And I was like, oh, this is excellent. This is excellent story. Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm sure some people will say, like, oh, the idol's, like, too hard this season. But, you know, we really flipped the script on season 3. You know, in season 3, people were like, idol's too easy. You know, people were just, like, picking them up at Exile and then holding on to them. So this time it's like, you have got to work for it, and it won't just be as simple as, like, stumbling across it. And that's very true. Like, we see from Sal in this episode, which, like, great episode for him, where he's going to recognize his position and go, strategizing with those 4 people is not going to save me here. Like, I just need to focus on the one thing, which is finding that idol.
Yeah.
I've picked up 3 clues that have told me the same thing. I am finding it.
And, you know, we did something different with the idols. We told you where they were from the beginning. And, you know, I've had people in my life who have been like, oh, stop teasing us. This is painful. We all know where they are. Can someone find it? Well done to Sal, because they were not easy. And like you said, having the wherewithal to sacrifice the social to go and find this. You know, and Matt's trying to be like, you know, what are you doing? Like, and he's like, I need an idol. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But good on Sal for continuing to look for an idol. Once he'd already found one, he could have sat back.
Yeah. Some interesting play here by people who are commenting on Sal running around like a goose in circles. And Josh is the one who gets sent after him, who has got a busted leg, which is just like, oh God, like... Like, poor Josh just sort of like, you know, dragging his leg around, like, trying to chase after Sal. And just like when he gets to Rachel and Matt to be like, I can't follow him anymore. Rachel and Matt are just like, oh no.
I know.
I guess no one can follow him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those two hang behind Josh to have a conversation. Yeah. But I also love that Rachel's just like, oh, okay, Josh.
Yeah. And I think the right person to send is Michael. Michael's not going to that tribal council, but he's immune. Well, Matt also is immune, so I guess either of them. Yeah, someone who's wearing the necklace where, like, they're not going to get voted out. It's like, send that person to be on Idol Watch so that you can... You know whether you need to, like, navigate around it or not.
Okay, so let's talk about the different... I want to talk about Matt B's plan.
Yeah,
because Matt C is kind of critical in, I guess, a little bit of Matt B's gameplay here. In my personal opinion, I actually think Matt B does a really great job here.
I like Matt B's strategy.
Yeah.
I think he's correct. Sorry, Matt C.
It banks on Sal not having the idol, which at this point, we know that Sal has the idol. So I think it would be easy to kind of think that it's bad strategy, right? But Matt B has limited time and limited resources in the people that he's got. So where he's going to place these numbers, and he's going to rely on, I guess, the people that he's made alliances with, I think it's quite smart. So he tells Matt C to vote for him. And I think this is where Matt C gets a bit critical, where it's just like, you never tell someone to vote for you. But Matt B will tell Matt C to vote for him. Matt B, Josh, and Rachel will all vote for Sal. And then it doesn't matter who Sal votes for. Matt B, Rachel, and Josh have all voted for Sal here, and Sal plays an idol, then it ties up with votes to Matt B and Josh. And Matt B is saying, I'll fall on the sword at that point.
Yeah.
Like, give me this chance. Give me this chance to get Sal out. And then his survival in the game only comes down to Sal having that idol. Which idols haven't been played.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think Matt B is right here. And I don't know what is the better plan.
where it falls unstuck is that if Matt B is lying, he votes for Josh. Sal plays the idol. Josh goes home now. 5 people. Matt B is telling you he's going to vote for Sal. So you chuck another vote on Sal. Matt C and Josh vote for Matt B. Now, by doing that, if Sal votes for Matt B goes home. Sal votes for Josh. You've got 2-2 split. Sal plays the idol. Matt B goes home. If he doesn't play the idol, you've got a tie. Revote. You take out Sal.
Yep.
If Matt B defects from this plan, doesn't vote with Rachel against Sal, but votes with Sal against Josh, then you still end up with 2 votes on Matt B.
Yeah.
So Matt B cannot defect without getting himself voted out if you split it like that.
Yep.
So it kind of forces his hand.
Okay, so this is where Kyle and I differ, where it's like Kyle is more of the strategy numbers guy and I'm more of like the character and emotional guy. That, I reckon, doesn't happen because Rachel is in play here. Where it's just like, if they were playing, yes, that is probably the correct move strategy-wise, right?
Yeah.
But like, where I think that plan would not surface is because getting Rachel over that line to be able to vote for Matt B and have the option of Matt B going home is really what sticks this plan here.
Yeah, but I mean, she does vote for him.
I know, but in terms of like why they don't have enough time to work that out is because to get Rachel over that threshold, that is the work that Matt C and Josh had to do in this episode.
Yeah.
So when they finally get there, do they have enough time to work out what the best thing is? Probably not.
Yeah, it's
You're
like,
right.
Like convincing Rachel that like, we have to let Matt B go, but also the plan is that you vote with him on Sal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and potentially that is the way to sell it, where it's just like, Matt B could go, but let's try and make it so that he doesn't.
Yeah,
sure,
Rachel, you don't want to vote him out, like vote for Sal then. It's fine. We're still going to have 2 on Matt B.
Yeah, that's the correct play. That's the correct play.
Yeah, well, the correct play. It's kind of like, that's a way that you could crunch the numbers to work in your favor, where you can play with the potential of an idol if your target is to take out Sal, which it is. So it's like, you've got the option there for it to be tied up where you can use your 3 votes on the revote against Sal.
They are confident that Sal isn't bold enough at this point to play his idol
for Matt B. Yeah.
I would say Sal is more suspicious of Matt B, and that's why he wouldn't do it.
Just again, like with the beautiful tying together of this idol story, which Rachel points out as well, of like 2 tribals ago, Sal was asking for an idol from Matt B.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
Sal, I guess, also will realize in this moment, well, when he finds the idol of like, okay, Matt B did not have it, but I'm going to play it to make sure the Matt B goes home.
Yeah.
Which is effectively what he will do here.
Right after Abby, who has perpetuated this rumor the whole season that Matt B has an idol. Yeah. And ultimately he will go home because he doesn't have one. Yeah.
So a very exciting place for it to leave us going into the next episode. 4 from Original Red. We've got 4 from Original Yellow.
Join us next week for episode 10. Wowza. Of Backyard Survivor Season 4.
Maybe it'll be the same because we're doing it right now.
Do I have to change?
I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay, bye.